The breakthrough came from the smallest ship in the area. Hidden among the massive alien warships and commercial vessels was a tiny, Lumari research craft called the Peaceful Dawn. Its commander, research leader Timara, had been watching the standoff with growing concern. Unlike the military leaders who saw only threats, or the politicians who worried about power, Timara was guided by her species' natural ability to sense emotions. When she focused her telepathic gifts on the human ships, she felt something that surprised her completely. The humans were nervous, but not aggressive. They were excited about meeting new species, but also worried about making mistakes. Most importantly, she sensed no desire for conquest or destruction. These beings truly wanted peace. Commander Rex Turner was monitoring communications aboard the UE's Discovery when he detected a weak signal coming from the small Lumari ship. The message was simple but important. Human vessels, this is research. Leader Timara, my people can sense emotions across space. You are not here to harm us. We wish to help you make contact with the Council. Turner immediately forwarded the message to Captain Hayes, who contacted the other human ships. Finally, they had found an ally willing to help bridge the gap between species. Research Leader Timara, this is Captain Ben Hayes. We are grateful for your assistance. How can we prove our peaceful intentions to the other species? Come aboard our diplomatic station, Timara replied. Meet with Council representatives face to face. When they see you are like us, perhaps fear will turn to understanding. The suggestion created immediate controversy among the alien fleets. Some species thought it was too dangerous to allow unknown beings onto the station. Others worried it might be a trap. But Ambassador Krelthak, under pressure to resolve the crisis, agreed to formal first contact procedures. 6 hours later, a small human shuttle approached the massive Zentari diplomatic station. Ambassador Helen Carter sat calmly in the passenger compartment, reviewing her notes one final time. Beside her, Dr. Paul Stevens checked his scientific equipment, while Colonel Amy Brooks made sure her security protocols were ready. The shuttle pilot, Lieutenant Kevin Murphy, guided their craft through the station's landing bay. Through the viewports, they could see dozens of different alien species watching their arrival. Some looked curious, others seemed afraid, and a few appeared openly hostile. Remember, we represent all of humanity today, Carter said to her team as they prepared to disembark. Let's show them who we really are. The airlock opened, and the first humans to formally meet the galactic community stepped onto alien soil. The gravity was slightly lighter than Earth normal, and the air smelled of unfamiliar chemicals, but the humans adapted quickly. Ambassador Krelthak was waiting for them, along with representatives from several major species. The Zentari diplomat was tall and covered in blue scales, with 4 arms and large golden eyes. Despite his alien appearance, he seemed genuinely welcoming. Ambassador Carter, I am honored to meet you, Krelthak said, his words translated by the station's computer systems. Welcome to the galactic community. Carter smiled and extended her hand in the human gesture of greeting. The honor is ours, Ambassador. Humanity has waited a long time for this moment. The formal ceremonies went smoothly at first. Each species presented itself according to ancient protocols, and the humans responded with appropriate courtesy. Dr. Stevens was particularly excited to meet Dr. Zephelin in person, and the two scientists immediately began discussing their respective fields of study. But the real test came when the station's warning alarms suddenly began blaring. A cascade failure had occurred in the main life support system, threatening the lives of everyone aboard. Emergency barriers slammed down, trapping people in different sections of the station, while alien security forces scrambled to organize evacuation procedures. The humans reacted differently. Colonel Brooks immediately began assessing the situation and coordinating rescue efforts. Dr. Stevens started treating injured station workers who had been hurt when the barriers fell. Most importantly, Ambassador Carter took charge of the crisis response. "Captain Morrison, we need your engineering team here now," she said into her communicator. "People are going to die if we don't fix this quickly." Within minutes, human engineers were working alongside alien technicians to repair the damaged systems. Chief Engineer Lisa Park from the UE's Horizon crawled through ventilation shafts that were too small for most alien species, reaching critical control panels that no one else could access. The humans worked with an efficiency that amazed their alien observers. They did not panic when faced with unfamiliar technology. Instead, they studied the systems quickly, figured out how they worked, and found creative solutions to complex problems. "How do they do that?" Dr. Zeflin asked her assistant as she watched the humans coordinate repairs. "Do what?" "Adapt so quickly to new situations. They have never seen our technology before, yet they understand it almost instantly." The answer came from watching the humans work together. They did not worry about rank or species hierarchy. Engineers took orders from doctors when medical knowledge was needed. Military officers followed the advice of scientists when technical expertise was required. They worked as a team, with everyone contributing their strengths to solve the problem. Breakthrough came when Dr. Stevens realized that the cascade failure was caused by incompatible safety systems from different alien species. Each race had added their own protective measures to the station over the years, but no one had checked to see if they would work together properly. "We need to bypass the Korthic power regulators and reroute through the Talran backup systems," he explained to the alien chief engineer, a multi-armed being called Technician Verlin. "That should not work," Verlin replied. "Those systems were never designed to interface." "Trust me," Stevens said with a confident smile. "Humans are very good at making incompatible things work together." He was right. Within an hour, the human-led repair team had restored life support throughout the station. The emergency barriers retracted and normal operations resumed. But the impact of what had happened went far beyond simple repairs. The aliens had seen humanity's true nature. These were not conquerors seeking to dominate others. They were problem solvers who instinctively helped anyone in need. When faced with a crisis, their first thought was not about their own safety, but about how to save others. Admiral Torgak, who had been watching the repairs through security cameras, contacted his fleet with new orders. "Stand down from battle. Alert! These humans are not our enemies." Similar messages went out from other military commanders. The fear that had gripped the galaxy began to fade as word spread about what the humans had done. They had risked their own lives to save alien strangers, working together with species they had just met to solve a problem that could have killed thousands. As the crisis ended, Ambassador Carter found herself surrounded by alien diplomats who wanted to learn more about humanity. The questions came quickly. How had they learned to work together so effectively? Why did they help others before thinking about themselves? What kind of society could produce such people? "We learned these things because we had to," Carter explained. "Our planet is dangerous, and our history is full of conflicts. But we discovered that we are stronger when we work together than when we fight alone." Every human child learns that helping others is not just good for them, it is good for everyone. The formal first contact ceremonies resumed the next day. But the atmosphere had completely changed. Instead of fear and suspicion, there was curiosity and excitement. Species that had been preparing for war were now discussing trade agreements and scientific exchanges. Dr. Zeflin published a preliminary report that was distributed throughout the galaxy. Her conclusion was simple but profound. The humans represent an opportunity, not a threat. Their greatest strength is not their technology or their weapons, but their ability to unite different groups toward common goals. As the day ended, Captain Morrison stood on the observation deck of the diplomatic station, looking out at the alien ships that surrounded them. Just 24 hours ago, Those same vessels had been pointed at his fleet with weapons ready. Now they were escorts and potential allies. Humanity had passed its first test with the galactic community, not through superior firepower or advanced technology, but through the simple act of helping others in need. Captain Jake Morrison felt the familiar vibration as the UE's horizon dropped out of hyperspace. Through the main view screen, he watched the swirling colors of faster-than-light travel fade away, replaced by the star-filled darkness of normal space. Ahead of them lay Centauri Prime, the diplomatic heart of the galaxy. "Navigation reports we are at the edge of Centauri space, Captain," announced Lieutenant Commander Sarah Blake from her position at the operations console. "All systems are functioning normally." Morrison nodded, opened a communication channel to the other ships in their small fleet. The faces of Captain Lisa Rodriguez and Captain Ben Hayes appeared on his screen, both looking as calm as he felt despite the historic nature of their mission. "Gentlemen, lady," Morrison said formally, "we are about to make first contact with an entire galactic civilization. Let's make a good impression." What Morrison could not see were the dozens of sensor arrays already tracking their arrival. Within seconds of the human ships appearing, alarm signals were racing across the galaxy. At the speed of light, emergency meetings were called, military forces were alerted, and panic began to spread through the corridors of power on hundreds of worlds. On the bridge of the Korthake, battleship destroyer of worlds, Admiral Torgak studied the tactical display with growing amazement. The three human ships were small compared to his massive dreadnought, but their energy signatures made no sense. "Scan them again," he ordered his sensor officer. "Sir, the readings are the same. Their power output is enormous, but we cannot determine the source. Their hull composition appears to be some kind of metal we have never encountered. And their weapon systems are completely hidden from our sensors." Torgak frowned. In 30 years of military service, he had never faced an enemy whose capabilities he could not assess. The humans were either using technology far beyond anything the galaxy had seen, or they had developed stealth systems that made detailed scanning impossible. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the lead human vessel," reported the communications. "Officer, put it through." The view screen flickered, then showed the interior of what was clearly a ship's bridge. The being who appeared was smaller than most galactic species, with pale skin, short dark hair, and strange clothing. This was the first time any Korthak had seen a living human. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earthship Horizon," the human said in a calm, steady voice. "We come in peace, seeking diplomatic contact with the Galactic Council. We request permission to approach Centauri Prime for formal first contact procedures." Torgak was surprised by how normal the human appeared. Based on the reports he had received, he expected something more fearsome. Yet there was something about the human's eyes that suggested hidden strength. "Human vessel, this is Admiral Torgak of the Korthak Empire. You will maintain your current position while we determine your intentions." Meanwhile, on Centauri Prime, Ambassador Krell was dealing with chaos in the council chambers. Representatives from all 12 member species were shouting at once, each demanding different responses to the human arrival. "We should attack immediately," General Vaktar declared through his communication link from the Korthak fleet. "They are clearly here to scout our defenses before launching a full invasion." Dr. Zeflin disagreed strongly. "This could be the most important scientific discovery in galactic history. We must attempt peaceful communication." Merchant Prince Seldar was focused on practical concerns. "Whatever we decide, we need to do it quickly. Every minute we delay, more panic spreads." Through the trading networks, the argument continued for nearly an hour while the human ships waited patiently at the edge of Centauri space. More alien vessels arrived each minute, creating a growing crowd of observers. Some came out of curiosity, others out of fear, and a few with hostile intentions. On the bridge of the UES Liberty, Captain Rodriguez monitored the alien fleet gathering around them. Her ship was designed for combat if necessary, but she hoped it would not come to that. "Captain, I count over 40 alien vessels now," reported her tactical officer, Commander Tony Garcia. "Most of them appear to be keeping their distance, but several are moving to surround us." "Maintain defensive posture only," Rodriguez ordered. "We are not here to start a war." The situation grew more tense when a group of draconian warships arrived. The reptilian warriors were known throughout the galaxy for their aggressive nature and quick tempers. Their commander, war leader Skarax, immediately challenged the humans. "Unknown vessels, you have entered space claimed by the draconian clans. State your business or prepare to be destroyed." Captain Morrison found himself dealing with multiple alien species at once, each with different demands and expectations. Some wanted him to surrender his ships for inspection. Others demanded proof of peaceful intentions. A few seemed ready to open fire at the slightest provocation. "This is getting complicated," Morrison muttered to his first officer. "Sir, Ambassador Carter is requesting permission to broadcast a general message to all the alien ships," Blake reported. "Put her through." Ambassador Helen Carter appeared on screens throughout the small human fleet and was transmitted to every alien vessel in the area. She was a middle-aged woman with graying hair and kind eyes, chosen for this mission because of her skill at diplomacy and her calm presence under pressure. "To all representatives of the galactic community," she began. "I am Ambassador Helen Carter, speaking for the planet Earth and the human species. We have come here not as conquerors, but as neighbors seeking friendship. We offer our knowledge, our friendship, and our cooperation to any species willing to accept it." Her words were translated by automatic systems and broadcast across hundreds of different communication channels. For the first time, beings throughout the galaxy heard humanity speak for itself rather than through rumors and fear. "We know that our arrival has caused concern," Carter continued. "This was not our intention. We have observed your civilization from a distance for many years, learning your languages and customs. We come in peace, hoping to join the galactic community as partners and friends." The response was immediate but mixed. Some species seemed relieved by the peaceful message. Others remained suspicious, believing it might be a trick. The tension in space around Centauri Prime remained high as different alien fleets tried to decide how to respond. Dr. Zeflin, monitoring the situation from her research station, made a decision that would change everything. She activated her personal communication system and sent a direct message to the human ships. "Human vessels, this is Dr. Zeflin of the Eridan Collective. I wish to speak with your scientific personnel. Perhaps we can find a way to resolve this situation through knowledge rather than conflict." On the U's Discovery, Captain Hayes received the message and immediately contacted Dr. Paul Stevens, the mission's chief scientist. Stevens was excited by the opportunity to communicate directly with an alien researcher. "Dr. Zeflin, this is Dr. Paul Stevens. I would be honored to share information with you. Perhaps we can help our respective governments understand each other better." As the two scientists began their conversation, other species watched nervously. The humans had been in their space for less than 6 hours, but their presence had already begun to change the careful balance of galactic politics. The standoff continued, with dozens of alien ships surrounding the 3 human vessels. Nobody was ready to make the first move, but everyone knew that the next few hours would determine whether humanity joined the galactic community in peace, or if the galaxy would face its first major war in centuries. In the depths of space, 3 small human ships waited patiently while an entire galaxy tried to decide their fate. The news spread through the galaxy like a virus. Within days of the first reports, every major communication network was buzzing with stories about the mysterious humans. Each time the story was told, it grew larger and more frightening. On the Military world of Korthek Prime. General Vaktar stood before a massive holographic display showing the galaxy. Red markers indicated where human activity had been detected. The pattern worried him. The reading suggested coordinated movement by a large fleet, possibly the largest invasion force ever assembled. "Show me the analysis again," he ordered his intelligence officer, Colonel Drakmer, the younger Korthek, activated his datapad. "General, the energy signatures are unlike anything in our databases. Some readings suggest weapons that could destroy entire planets. Others show ships that can apparently become invisible to our sensors." Vaktar's jaw tightened. His species had ruled through military might for over 1,000 years. They had conquered dozens of worlds and absorbed weaker species into their empire. But these humans seemed to possess technology that made even the Korthek nervous. "What do we know about their home world?" he asked. "The old probe data is disturbing, sir. The planet they come from should not be able to support advanced life. It has extreme weather, dangerous radiation levels, and frequent natural disasters. Yet somehow they not only survived, but developed space travel." The general studied the data with growing concern. Any species that could thrive in such conditions would be incredibly tough. If they had also developed superior weapons technology, they could pose a serious threat to the established order. "Double our border patrols," he commanded. "I want every ship in the fleet ready for combat. And send a message to our allies. If these humans are coming to conquer, they will find the Korthek Empire ready to fight." Across the galaxy on the peaceful world of Eridan, Dr. Zeflin worked late into the night in her research laboratory. Unlike the military leaders who saw only threats, she was fascinated by the scientific puzzle these humans represented. Her colleague, Dr. Merlin, entered the lab carrying a steaming cup of their traditional evening tea. "Still working on the human problem?" "It is not a problem, it is a mystery," Zeflin replied, not looking up from her screens. "Look at this data. According to our old probes, their planet experiences ice ages, volcanic eruptions, massive storms, and asteroid impacts. Most species would have gone extinct facing just one of these challenges." "Maybe the probe data was wrong," Merlin suggested. "I thought so too, but I found more evidence. Listen to this." Zeflin activated an audio file. Strange sounds filled the lab. A mixture of mechanical noise and what sounded like screaming. "What is that?" "Intercepted transmissions from their planet, recorded decades ago by our deep space monitors. Our computers translated some of it. They appear to have been engaged in constant warfare, using weapons that create massive explosions." Merlin sat down heavily. "They fight each other with planet-destroying weapons? It gets worse. The transmission suggests they actually used these weapons against themselves multiple times. Yet their population continued to grow. They seemed to thrive on conflict and destruction." The two scientists sat in worried silence. If these humans could survive their own weapons and their dangerous planet, what would they do when they encountered other species? Meanwhile, in the busy trading stations of the Talren Federation, Merchant Prince Seldar held an emergency meeting with the most powerful traders in the galaxy. The conference room overlooked the main docking bays where ships from hundreds of worlds loaded and unloaded cargo. "The situation is getting out of hand," Seldar announced to the assembled merchants. 3 major trade routes have been suspended because captains are afraid to travel near human territory. Commodity prices are already rising because of the uncertainty. Trade Captain Corlin, who operated a fleet of cargo ships, spoke up. "My crews are refusing to take assignments in the Outer Rim. They have heard stories about human ships that can appear from nowhere and disappear just as quickly." "What kind of stories?" Seldar asked. "They say human ships can pass through solid matter like ghosts. Others claim they can travel faster than light without using hyperspace." One captain swears he saw a human vessel survive a direct hit from a plasma cannon without taking any damage. The room erupted in worried conversations. The Talran had built their civilization on trade and commerce. If shipping became too dangerous, their entire economy would collapse. "We need to establish contact with these humans," Seldar declared. "If they can be reasoned with, perhaps we can reach a trade agreement. If they cannot, we need to know what we are facing." The fear was not limited to the major powers. On the small world of Lumara, the peaceful inhabitants gathered in their great assembly hall to discuss the crisis. The Lumari had never built weapons of war, preferring to rely on diplomacy and the protection of stronger allies. Elder Tylara stood before the worried crowd. Her people were known for their wisdom and ability to sense the emotions of other species. What she felt from the reports about humans terrified her. "I have consulted with our telepathic monks," she announced. "They have attempted to reach out across the void to sense these humans. What they found disturbs me greatly." The hall fell silent. The Lumari monks were respected throughout the galaxy for their psychic abilities. "They sense minds unlike any we have encountered. There is great intelligence, but also something darker. A hunger for challenges, a desire to test themselves against impossible odds. These humans do not fear death the way most species do." Gasps echoed through the assembly. To the peaceful Lumari, the idea of a species that welcomed danger was almost incomprehensible. "They also sense something else," the elder continued. "These humans have an unusual ability to adapt and change. They seem to become stronger when faced with difficulties." As the reports continued to spread, each species interpreted them through their own experiences and fears. The proud Draconian clan saw potential rivals for their warrior culture. The technology-focused Nexari worried about species with superior engineering skills. Even the ancient and wise ethereal collective began making defensive preparations. None of them knew that their fears were based on misunderstandings and incomplete information. They did not realize that the planet-destroying weapons were primitive nuclear devices that humans had mostly stopped using. They could not understand that the constant warfare in the old transmissions had led to a species that valued peace and cooperation above all else. Most importantly, they failed to grasp that humanity's greatest strength was not their ability to destroy, but their talent for bringing different groups together to solve problems. On Earth, completely unaware of the panic they were causing, the diplomatic mission made final preparations for departure. Ambassador Helen Carter reviewed her briefing materials one last time, hoping to make a good first impression on the galactic community. Dr. Paul Stevens packed his scientific equipment, excited about the 5D possibility of studying alien life forms. Colonel Amy Brooks checked her security protocols, determined to protect the diplomatic team while demonstrating that humans came in peace. None of them could imagine that half the galaxy was already mobilizing to face them. The humans were indeed coming, but they brought friendship and curiosity, not conquest and destruction. Unfortunately, by the time they arrived, fear had already taken root too deeply for easy solutions. 6 months had passed since the humans first arrived at Centauri Prime. The galaxy looked very different now. Trade routes that had been closed due to fear were busier than ever. Scientific research projects that had been stuck for decades were making breakthrough discoveries. Even the most warlike species had found new ways to solve old problems. Ambassador Helen Carter stood on the balcony of the new human embassy, watching ships from dozens of worlds dock at the expanded station below. The building behind her buzzed with activity as diplomats, scientists, and traders worked together on projects that would have been impossible before first contact. "Ambassador, the council is ready for your presentation," said her assistant, Deputy Ambassador Mark Collins. He carried a data pad containing the final report on humanity's first year in the galactic community. Carter nodded and walked into the main conference room. The circular table had been expanded to accommodate 13 species instead of 12. The human chair, made from earth oak and carved with symbols representing all of humanity's nations, sat between the Zentari and Lumari representatives. "Fellow council members," Carter began, "when we first arrived, many of you feared what humans might bring to the galaxy. Today I want to show you what we have accomplished together." She activated the holographic display in the center of the table. Images of joint projects appeared, showing humans and aliens working side by side across hundreds of worlds. The Korthak Human Joint Exploration Program has discovered 7 new planets suitable for colonization, she announced. General Vaktar's military engineers and our construction teams have built stations that can withstand any natural disaster. General Vaktar, attending by hologram from his flagship, nodded approvingly. "The humans have taught us that strength comes not just from weapons, but from the ability to adapt and overcome any challenge. Our combined forces are now the most effective peacekeeping fleet in galaxy history." The display shifted to show scientific research facilities. "Our partnership with the Eridan Collective has led to breakthroughs in medical technology that have saved millions of lives," Carter continued. "Dr. Stevens and Dr. Zeflin's team has developed treatments for diseases that have plagued multiple species for centuries." Dr. Zeflin smiled from her seat at the table. "Human medical knowledge comes from their experience surviving in harsh conditions. They understand healing in ways we never imagined. Our joint research has advanced medical science by decades in just 6 months." The presentation moved to economic achievements. "Trade with the Tauren Federation has increased by 300%, Carter reported. "Human manufacturing techniques have made production more efficient while reducing waste. Merchant Prince Seldar's shipping network now reaches systems that were previously too dangerous to visit." Seldar leaned forward eagerly. "The humans have shown us how to turn problems into opportunities. Their ships can land on planets we thought were uninhabitable. Their traders find value in resources we considered worthless. They have opened markets we never knew existed. But the most important changes were not in military power, science, or trade. They were in how the species of the galaxy related to each other." Captain Jake Morrison discovered this during his first joint exploration mission to the Galactic core. His ship, the redesigned UES Horizon, now carried a crew of 26 beings from 8 different species. Navigation Officer Tyokara was a Lumari who could sense gravitational fields through telepathy. Chief Engineer Vexenal was a Vextar whose insectoid appendages could repair delicate equipment no other species could touch. Weapons Officer Scarval was a Draconian warrior who had learned to use his aggressive instincts to protect rather than conquer. "Captain, we are approaching the signal source," announced Science Officer Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a human xenorchaeologist who had joined the mission to study ancient alien artifacts. Through the view screen, they could see a massive structure floating in space near the galaxy's central black hole. It was clearly artificial, but older than any known civilization. The mysterious signals that had puzzled scientists for centuries were coming from this ancient station. "All departments report ready for approach," called out Communications Officer Zeflin, Dr. Zeflin's nephew who had volunteered for the dangerous mission. As they drew closer, the ancient station came to life. Lights flickered on throughout its vast structure, and new signals began transmitting in languages that predated the Galactic Council by millions of years. "It's responding to our presence," Dr. Rodriguez said in amazement. "Whatever built this has been waiting for someone to arrive." The discovery of the ancient station would lead to revelations about the galaxy's history and the civilizations that came before. But for Morrison, the real achievement was watching his mixed-species crew work together to solve the mystery. Humans, aliens, former enemies, and new friends all contributed their unique abilities to understanding the impossible. Back on Earth, Admiral Patricia Stone watched the news broadcast with satisfaction. The planet that had once seemed isolated and primitive was now the hub of galactic civilization. Students from hundreds of worlds came to Earth's universities to study human methods of problem-solving and cooperation. The new spaceport in orbit around Earth bustled with ships from every corner of the galaxy. Human children played with alien youngsters in the station's parks, while their parents worked together on projects that would benefit all species. In the shipyards, construction had begun on humanity's contribution to galactic defense, the UES. Unity, a massive exploration vessel designed by engineers from 13 different species. It would carry the largest and most diverse crew ever assembled, ready to face whatever challenges lay beyond the galaxy's borders. The ship's captain would be Lisa Rodriguez, promoted after her excellent service during the First Contact crisis. Her first officer would be Taimara, the Lumari who had first offered friendship to humanity. Together, they would lead an expedition to neighboring galaxies, carrying the message that cooperation was stronger than conflict. Dr. Paul Stevens, now director of the Interspecies Medical Research Institute, published his final report on humanity's impact on galactic civilization. His conclusion was simple but profound. The greatest discovery was not that humans existed, but that working together, all species could achieve more than any could accomplish alone. The report was required reading in schools across the galaxy. Young beings learned that differences between species were not obstacles to overcome, but advantages to celebrate. The diversity that had once caused fear and conflict became the foundation for unprecedented cooperation and progress. As the first year of human membership in the Galactic Council ended, Ambassador Carter reflected on how much had changed. Rumors that had once filled the galaxy with fear now seemed almost funny. Yes, humans were formidable, but their strength came from their ability to bring out the best in others. The phrase, "the humans are coming," was still heard throughout the galaxy, but it had a completely different meaning now. When natural disasters struck, when scientific problems seemed impossible, when conflicts threatened to tear communities apart, people hoped to hear those words, because when the humans came, they brought not conquest or destruction, but the promise that no challenge was too great when faced together. They had taught the galaxy that true strength came not from standing alone, but from standing together. The galaxy that had once feared humanity's arrival now looked forward to whatever challenges the future might bring, knowing that together, there was nothing they could not overcome. The age of isolation was over. The age of cooperation had begun. The blue light from the communication console cast strange shadows across Ambassador Krulthak's scaled face. He sat in his office high above the busy streets of Zentari Prime, watching ships from dozens of different worlds dock at the massive space station that orbited his planet. For 300 years, he had served as a diplomat for the Galactic Council. In all that time, he had never received a message quite like this one. The voice coming through the speaker was broken and filled with static. Commander Vestal of the mining station Omega-7 sounded terrified. His insectoid species was known for being calm under pressure, but something had shaken him badly. "Ambassador, you must listen to me," the voice crackled through the interference. "We picked up something on our long-range scanners. Ships, many ships, coming from the edge of our territory. But these are not like anything we have seen before." Krulthak leaned back in his chair and sighed. Mining stations were always reporting strange readings. Space was full of old debris, rogue asteroids, and energy storms that could fool even the best sensors. He had filed hundreds of similar reports over the years. "Commander, please send me your detailed scans and I will review them," Krulthak said in his most patient voice. "The Council will investigate if necessary." "No, you do not understand." Vextul's voice grew more urgent. "These readings show massive energy signatures. The power levels are off our charts. and they are organized, moving in formation like a fleet. But there is something else, something that makes no sense. The ambassador's attention sharpened. Vextal was an experienced officer who had spent 20 years monitoring the Outer Rim. If he was this worried, maybe there was something worth investigating. What else did you detect? The ships appeared from hyperspace near that yellow star. System we cataloged years ago. Sol 3, I think it was called. Our old probes said it had some primitive life forms, nothing advanced. But these ships, Ambassador, they came from that direction. A chill ran down Krulthak's spine. The Sol system had been surveyed by automated probes centuries ago. The reports described a world with simple life forms that spent most of their time fighting each other. The planet looked dangerous with extreme weather and frequent natural disasters. No reasonable species would want to live there. Send me everything you have, Krulthak ordered. All sensor data, all recordings, everything. I am transmitting now, but there is one more thing. Right before we lost contact with our outer sensors, we picked up a single word transmission. It was in an unknown language, but our computers managed to translate it. The silence stretched for several seconds. Then Vextal's voice came through one final time, barely a whisper. The humans are coming. The transmission cut to static, then silence. Krulthak stared at the console, his forearms frozen over the controls. He had never heard the word humans before, but something about it made his blood run cold. Over the next few days, more reports began to arrive. A Talran trade ship reported being scanned by unknown vessels that vanished before they could respond. A Krulthak patrol detected hyperspace signatures that did not match any known drive system. Deep space monitoring stations picked up energy readings that suggested large ships moving through sectors that were supposed to be empty. All the reports pointed to the same general direction. Something was coming from the region of space that contained the Sol system. Krulthak called an emergency meeting of the Galactic Council's Intelligence Committee. Representatives from the 12-number species gathered in the Great Chamber, their various forms creating a strange mixture of shapes and colors around the circular table. General Vaktar of the Krulthak Empire spoke first. His warrior species had built their reputation on strength and conquest, and he did not like unknown threats. These reports are troubling, he said, his deep voice echoing through the chamber. If there is a new species with advanced technology, we must determine their intentions quickly. Dr. Zeflin of the Eridan Collective adjusted her flowing robes and consulted her datapad. Her people were known throughout the galaxy for their scientific knowledge and careful study of other species. I have been researching the old probe. Data from the Sol system, she said. The information is limited, but what we found is disturbing. The dominant species on the third planet showed remarkable aggression and adaptability. They seemed to thrive in conditions that would kill most other life forms. Merchant Prince Seldar of the Talran Federation looked worried. His people controlled much of the galaxy's trade, and anything that threatened commerce threatened them. My ships report that some trade routes are already being avoided by nervous captains, he said. Fear spreads faster than facts, and fear is bad for business. The discussion continued for hours, but they had few facts to work with. The mysterious humans remained unknown. Some representatives thought they should send a diplomatic mission to make contact. Others wanted to mobilize military forces to protect against a possible invasion. As the meeting ended, each species began making their own preparations. The Krulthak started moving their fleets to defensive positions. The Eridans dispatched research teams to gather more information. The Talrians began stockpiling goods and resources in case trade was disrupted. Meanwhile, far from the political discussions and military preparations, the truth was much simpler. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UE's horizon, watching the stars through the main view screen. Behind him, His crew worked quietly at their stations, running final checks on their systems. "All departments report ready, Captain," said his first officer, Lieutenant Commander Sarah Blake. Morrison nodded and opened a communication channel to the other ships in their small fleet. Captain Lisa Rodriguez of the UES Liberty and Captain Ben Hayes of the UES Discovery appeared on his screen. "This is it," Morrison said. "After 50 years of watching and learning, humanity is ready to say hello to the galaxy." The three ships engaged their hyperspace drives and disappeared into the swirling colors of faster-than-light travel. They were heading for Centauri space, carrying Ambassador Helen Carter and her diplomatic team. Their mission was simple: establish peaceful contact with the Galactic Council and introduce humanity as a new member of the galactic community. They had no idea that their arrival was already being feared across hundreds of worlds. They did not know that entire fleets were being mobilized to face them. The humans were coming, just as the rumors said, but they came in peace. Unfortunately, nobody in the galaxy was ready to believe that.